methamphetamine. Deputy Inspector General of Police, Dato Sri Ayub Han Maidin Piche says the findings suggest the possible existence of a drug processing lab in the area.
Bulan lepas ada rampasan besar yang kita buat di Selangor melibatkan lab. Daripada tanggapan yang kita buat tu melibatkan 9 warga asing daripada China. Dan ini menunjukkan satu trend yang amat membimbangkan. Di Malaysia sebelum ni ada lab, tapi trend yang terbaru ni lab ini dikendalikan oleh warga asing yang punya kepakaran dan bahan-bahan asing baru yang dibawa masuk untuk menghasilkan darah-darah bau.
The discovery was made through a collaboration between the Narcotics Criminal Investigation Department and University Kebangsaan Malaysia aimed at researching prohibited substances. Ayub Han said that analysis was still in its early stages, with the Narcotics Department set to conduct further investigations before taking action.
A strict temporary ban on heavy vehicles will be enforced nationwide during the Hari Raya Aidilfitri travel period to reduce congestion and improve road safety. Johor Public Works, Transport and Infrastructure Committee Chairperson Muhammad Fazli Muhammad Saleh says this measure is crucial to prevent bottlenecks caused by heavy vehicles, particularly on major highways and federal roads.
The ban will be in place on March 29th and 30th and April 5th and 6th. Restricting lorries, trailers and heavy machinery under 3 categories. Category 1 vehicles, which include lorries exceeding 7,500 kg, will be completely banned from roads on these dates. Meanwhile, for Category 2 vehicles, which includes container lorries and transporters, will face restrictions from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m, except those moving within ports, airports and industrial zones in the same state. Lastly, Category 3 vehicles such as mobile cranes and cement mixers will be prohibited from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. except for emergency operations. State government has warned of strict enforcement with heavy penalties for those who fail to comply.
Now, plastic pollution in Malaysia has reached alarming levels, affecting our environment and health. To shed light on this issue, we have with us Farhana Sheikh. So Farhana, what's driving this whole plastic crisis?
Thank you, Hafiz. Now, the surge in plastic pollution in Malaysia stems from several interconnected factors. We have notably our high per capita plastic consumption, inadequate waste management infrastructure, and also fragmented policies across states.
Now, let's delve into these factors that you mentioned. How does Malaysia's plastic consumption compares to the, internationally and regionally?
Right. In 2020, a WWF report actually found that Malaysia had the highest per capita plastic consumption in Southeast Asia. So each person was actually using about 16.8 kilograms of plastic a year. A big reason for this is our lifestyle. We basically rely a lot on plastic-heavy conveniences. You think about your food delivery, your supermarket packaging, and of course the ever-present single-use plastic. I mean, just take a stroll around our Ramadan Bazaar. Yes. There's plenty of plastic bags and containers used everywhere. But it's not just about what we use, it's also about where it ends up. Now, in 2021, a report found that Malaysia was leaking over 73,000 metric tons of plastic waste into the ocean every year. And that puts us actually among the world's top contributors of ocean polluters, alongside countries like the Philippines, Indonesia, Myanmar, Vietnam, and Thailand.
Now, that's really a lot. How is this, pattern of consumption impacting the environment?
Right. It's not only impacting the environment, it's impacting us as well. So the environmental impact is profound, but a 2024 study actually published in the Environmental Science and Technology Journal found that Malaysians actually consume an average of 502.3 mg of microplastics daily per capita. So ranking highest among 109 countries that it surveyed. And more than 50% of this actually comes from the fishes that we eat. So this poses a serious risk to both marine life as well as human life.
So how do we look at this? What about our waste management? Are we equipped to handle this kind of plastic load?
Well, based on the analysis and the figures that were showed just now, Malaysia lacks a mandatory waste segregation practice. And the absence of a uniform policy as well, plastic policy as well, also leads to inconsistent enforcement across states. So I guess the short answer to that would be no, could be better. So let's say, for example, some states would ban plastic straws and while others charge varying fees for plastic bags. So this lack of standardization actually hampers effective waste management and exacerbates the problem. I actually spoke to Wendaxin from Greenpeace Malaysia to dive deeper into this.
So there are some limitation and shortcomings in relation to this waste management according to different states. So that's why in 2007, the government has actually put out a new law that's called the Solid Waste and Public Cleansing Management Act 2007. So we call that the Act 672. So it actually comes into full effect on September 2011 to address the gap in the current waste management practices. So the waste management infrastructure and management is still limited because it's only enforced currently in KL, Putrajaya, Pahang, Johor, Malacca, Negeri Sembilan, Perlis, and Kedah. So what these acts required is that households are to separate their waste. So we call it separation at source. So we're starting a separation at home, and also data reporting for companies on their generation of waste. Unfortunately, it's only these states, and most of the time separation does not actually really take place. For example, if you're living in a condo or apartment, you don't really see that the management offices have like different waste bins for the residents to throw their waste or sort their waste accordingly. So this is also because there is a very lack of monitoring and any enforcement efforts to ensure that separation at source actually takes place.
So Farhana, what are there enough measures taken to address all these challenges? And the most important thing is, are they sufficient?
Well, most recently, the Malaysian government is considering introducing a national legislation, and as part of the 13th Malaysia Plan, this was announced by our Minister, Datuk Seri Nik Nazmi. So, to address plastic pollution more comprehensively, this legislation could provide a more robust legal framework to phase out single-use plastic and tackle plastic pollution. But I talked to Yan again and about what should actually be addressed and what should be included in this national policy, and she has an interesting take. So let's have a listen.
So the important thing that we have to start realizing is that recycling is actually a failed system. So we have data from back in 2022. The recycling rate is only 33.1%. So it's actually taken from SW Corp. Okay. The problem with that is because there are 7 different types of plastics, and unfortunately, a lot of people aren't aware. So policymakers definitely have to develop adequate policies to address all these root issues and to invest in a future that can be brought on by a systematic change that ultimately lead to what Greenpeace is actually promoting. What we call is a refill and reuse system, so that you could see all these zero waste stores popping up around that actually kind of like have people bring in their own containers and that to buy what they need, so that avoids the unnecessary plastic packaging. So because you probably have like clean containers at home that you could reuse indefinitely until it's broken. So that's why we are trying to push forward the refill and reuse system as a real solution instead of recycling.
Well, I hope that the national policy will actually review what Yan just said, this initiative, and with Malaysia chairing ASEAN 2025 this year, there's a real chance that to tackle plastic pollution at a regional level as well and really push for stronger action against plastic waste.
Let's hope that's the case. Thank you, Farhana. That was Farhana sharing this story with us. We'll go for a short break. Stay with us.
Kerap menggaru kulit kepala disebabkan keluh mumur, masalahnya lebih mendalam. Gunalah Head and Shoulders menembusi 5 lapisan untuk membasmi keluh mumur dan kegatalan. Bebas keluh mumur sehingga 100%. Head and Shoulders diuji secara dermatologi. Dimasak seikhlas rasa. Air tangan insan istimewa. Masak bersama Harmoni Raya. Dapatkan resepi inspirasi di Maggi.my. Rambut gugur lagi? Macam mana Gunakan Pantene Baharu dengan provitamin mikro yang meresap dan menguatkan rambut dari dalam. Rambut 10 kali lebih kuat terhadap rambut gugur. Pantene Baharu.
Welcome back. At least 24 people were killed and dozens of others injured as wildfires continue to spread in the southeast of South Korea. The situation remains critical and is being deemed the deadliest and worst wildfires in the nation's history. Many of the victims were the elderly in their 60s and 70s, while more than 23,000 people have been evacuated. The fire started in Sancheong County on Friday afternoon before spreading to neighboring counties, fueled from strong and dry winds. Around 42,000 acres of forest have been destroyed so far. Thousands of firefighters and military personnel have been deployed to contain multiple blazes, as well as helicopters from the US military stationed there. A South Korean appeals court reversed a lower court's ruling and found main opposition leader Lee Jae-myung not guilty of violating the election law. Now, this removes a barrier that could have blocked him from running for president.
Following the ruling, Lee said the decision by the Seoul High Court completely vindicated him and proved the case was politically motivated. Lee was handed a 1-year prison term, suspended for 2 years by the Seoul Central District Court last year. The penalty, if upheld, would have jeopardized his bid to run in the next presidential election. The appeals court reversed the earlier ruling that had found Lee guilty of making a false claim during a parliamentary audit in 2021 while running as a presidential candidate about a land development project in Songnam where he served as mayor.
The United Nations welcomes the agreement the United States has reached with Russia and Ukraine on the Black Sea issue. According to the White House, the agreement was made to ensure safe navigation, eliminate the use of force, and prevent the use of commercial vessels for military purposes in the Black Sea.
The agreement follows separate technical-level talks between US and Ukrainian delegations, as well as between US and Russian delegations held from March 23rd to 25th in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
We've seen the two announcements, which are obviously which are welcome. These issues, notably on the freedom of navigation and Black Sea, are issues that the Secretary General, his team, notably Rebecca Greenspan and others, have been working on since almost the start of this, the conflict, and there continues to be discussions on these issues.
The US-Russia and US-Ukraine talks also agreed on efforts to achieve a durable and lasting peace. Among the outcomes of the US-Russia talks, the United States will help restore Russia's access to the world market for agricultural and fertilizer exports, lower maritime insurance costs, and enhance access to port and payment systems for such transactions, according to the statement. In the US-Ukraine talks, both sides reaffirmed the United States' commitment to helping achieve the exchange of prisoners of war, the release of civilian detainees, and the return of forcibly transferred Ukrainian children.
Now that wraps up AWANI tonight. Check out our web portal, keeping you informed on the critical events shaping our world, all in one place at international.astroawani.com. That's all for now. I'm Hafiz Marzukhi. Thanks for watching and good night.